Okay, research. So, where do I find sources? Well, the first place you might want to look are academic search engines. So, many school libraries subscribe to academic search engines such as EBSCO or Academic Search Premier or InfoTrack. These search engines filter results so you only get academic sources you can be sure are appropriate sources. We do not have access to these at Synergy at this time, but be aware of them for when you attend college. Another might be googlescholar.com. This search engine, which is available to anyone, also filters results so you only get academic sources. Not every source listed is available online. This is not required, but if you want to use it as a challenge, feel more than free. A library. So print sources from your school or public library that you can't get online are available here. Asking a librarian to help is a great source. Your internet search. Using a regular search engine such as Google or Yahoo. Does anyone still use Yahoo? Sorry, guys. Could turn up appropriate sources. We have to be very careful. Google has some of the worst sources as well as some of the best. You just have to know how to look. And make sure that be careful to make sure your source is appropriate for an academic research paper. For this project, this is going to be your primary method because this is the source that we have right now. How do I tell which sources I can use? Well, let's go over some secrets. When you get to college, you're only going to use what are called peer-reviewed sources. And the best sources are peer-reviewed. This means that it was an article written by an expert in the field and reviewed for accuracy by other experts. So you'll find peer-reviewed articles in scholarly journals, type of stuff you read in college. When you're doing research from here, you just want to consider where the information's coming from. Is it from a respected magazine or newspaper? So is it from like Newsweek, Time Magazine, National Geographic, something like that? Or is it from a respected newspaper like New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post, USA Today, something like that? Is it from a journal or a reference book? So a reference book might be like history.com, it might be like Britannica, or it might be, something along those lines. What you want to do is you want to avoid things like blogs, like if it's clearly just made by like one person, a personal website. So if it's just, Fred's opinions, or work that has not been peer reviewed or edited. So anything from a newspaper has been edited by an editor. So it's going to be at least somewhat reliable or mostly reliable. But if your work hasn't been, then that's not something you're going to want to use. Okay. You want to avoid something that's very biased. So if it has like a very clear agenda or bias, you're going to want to avoid that. So, if you're researching stuff on gun policy, you don't want to go to like the NRA's website because they have a very clear bias in what they're trying to say about guns being good on that same page. And you maybe wouldn't want to go to like Mom's Demand because they have a very clear bias. So while you're doing general research, you're going to want to avoid very biased sources. You want to look for quality websites. Good kind of place to start is that edu or gov are more likely to be good sources, not always, but most of the time, than like .com, .net, .org. .com can be very hit or miss. There can be some great websites, some awful ones. .net you're probably going to want to avoid. .org is probably more like a 60-40 or even 70-30. Like most of them are going to be good, but there might be some bad ones. Okay. What about Wikipedia? All right, I'm going to tell you guys a secret that you can take with you to college. Wikipedia is not a reliable or credible academic source. If you go to, however, I'm going to tell you a secret to use it. What you can do with Wikipedia is go to the end of an article, and you could find links that will lead you to a good source. And so basically, if you see something interesting in a Wikipedia article and you'd like to cite it, please don't ever put it in any of your academic stuff, for me or for college, especially in college, but also for me. But what you can do is click on where it came from, go to that source, and then cite that source, because that's an official source. And usually the sources of Wikipedia are actually very accurate. So that's your secret to using Wikipedia. For this project, you're just going to ask questions into Google or another search engine. I just want you to get the basic information. So examples are, why was the printing press important? What changes did the printing press make? So focus on how your topic or person or just whatever it was impacted the world. Be sure your sources have a clear author. That's going to be a good sign right there. Do not use sources that don't have an author or the author is anonymous. That's going to be a pretty good clue that it's probably not going to be a good source. Okay. One exception to that might be is if it's from something like Britannica.com or History.com. That might be the one exception, but be very careful there. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys, and good luck.